that interview probably they're not interested, but the other interview is more Solaris.
Okay.
They don't have any VMware, so that one
Okay.
probably I will get.
Okay, cool. Somehow Solaris is slowly fading away.
Yeah, it's almost no, like private organizations are using, they already migrated to Linux.
Yeah.
Only the government is still using here.
Yeah. Only those big organizations who have their applications which are already built on Solaris,
Yes,
probably
yes.
they are using it.
Even they are also, some of them
Not
are
many new
migrating to Linux.
implementations. Yeah. Many of them are migrating to Linux and not many new implementations as such.
Yeah, no new implementation. Probably after 5 years we won't see any Solaris. Maybe 1%, 2%, not much.
Yeah, it will be like HPUX, however, is going away. They are stopping their OS, HPUX. So probably it will be IBM AX, Solaris, and Linux and Windows.
Yeah, but right now I don't have any luxury to choose. I have to take whatever job comes.
Yes, yes.
And then probably after 6 months or 1 year, I will move to Linux and VMware.
So do you know Linux?
Yeah, I know Red Hat Linux.
Okay. So you can say that you are a Linux admin.
Yeah, I'm currently working in Linux environment, CentOS, Slackware.
Okay, okay. All right. So you are at this screen, right?
Yes.
Okay. So the first thing that you can do is you can create a virtual machine. Right?
Okay.
So this is, we are creating the virtual machine on the ESXi server.
Yes.
Okay, yesterday we talked about all these tabs, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So you should pretty much know what is there in which place. Once if you read through, you will know, right? So the first thing that we can do right away is create a virtual machine. Okay? So when you click on create a new virtual machine here, you get an option to create a new virtual machine from here or from here or from here. Right?
Yes.
Go ahead, create a new virtual machine. Now you have to, now it will ask you to customize, configure basically. So which configuration you want? Do you want go with the typical configuration that the machine automatically creates, or do you want your own custom configuration?
Okay.
If you say typical configuration, memory, CPU will be automatically selected for you, right? If you say custom configuration, you have to select everything. Do you see the when I say typical, do you see how many screens it's going to show you?
Yes.
Configuration, name and location, storage, guest operating system, network, disk, and ready to complete. When I click on custom, right? Name and location, storage, virtual machine version, guest operating system, CPUs, memory, network, SCSI controller, selected disk, and ready to complete.
Yeah, let's do a custom because most of the time we have to do the custom configuration.
Nah, it's not like that.
Yes.
It's not like that, right? Most of the time you don't even get into creating a new virtual machine. What you do is you deploy it from a template.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So let's do a custom configuration for now. Click on next. Okay. It will ask you to name the virtual machine whatever you want to name. Probably I'm going to name this as, I'm going to install RHEL.
Okay.
Let's see what else I have. If I have a smaller version of small OS, probably I'll prefer that because we don't have much space on our RAM. So this goes here. CentOS. RHEL 5 update 8. All right. Fedora Ubuntu. All right, let's go with RHEL 5. Right?
Okay.
So you have to name your machine. Okay. I'll say RHEL 5. Okay. This is
Okay.
my machine name.
Okay.
Click next. Now it will ask you to select a place to store your virtual machine.
Okay.
Basically, it will give you the list of data stores that you have. Okay. As of now, I just have only one hard disk connected to this server, so it is giving me only one data store name. Right.
Okay.
If I have multiple disks connected, and if I would have created multiple data stores, it will give me multiple data stores here. Right. Select whatever you want to select and click next. Now it is asking you to select the virtual machine version. Okay. You are saying virtual machine version 4, virtual machine version 7, virtual machine version 8. So if you just simply go into Google and type virtual machine version, okay.
Okay.
Basically, these versions are nothing but the hardware versions.
Okay.
Okay. There are different kinds of see, even the virtual machine that you are going to run is made up of some hardware, right? That hardware definition will be controlled by these versions. Okay.
Okay. Okay.
So you can either choose a virtual machine version 8. The version will run on ESXi 5.0 and later.
Okay.
Okay. If I choose a virtual machine version 7, it can run on ESXi 4.0 and later. Right?
Okay. Okay.
This version is recommended when sharing storage or virtual machines with ESXi up to 4.1.
Okay.
Okay. So this virtual machine may not run on virtual VMware 5, ESXi 5.5. So
Okay.
it's always better to go for the latest one. Whatever you
Okay.
have, go for the latest one. Okay. Now it will ask you to choose what's the operating system that you are going to install.
Okay.
Right? Whether you're going to install, whether you're going to install Windows, Linux, or other operating systems. Like you have
Okay.
your Sun, Arcus, all
Okay.
those, right? Arcus,
Yeah.
all
So we
those.
can install even the Spark version of Solaris 10.
Spark version of Solaris 10 you cannot install. This is only x86
x86.
virtualization.
Yeah.
So whatever that can run on a Intel architecture, it can run on VMware.
Okay. Okay.
Right? Spark architecture is different, right? This is x86
Yeah.
version.
Yeah, that runs only on Spark machines, but x86 Solaris we can run.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, you can, depending on what you're going to install, choose the correct version of operating system here.
Okay.
Okay. Choosing a wrong operating system version and installing a different operating system may result in unknown hardware failures.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Say for example, if I'm going to install Red Hat Enterprise Linux 5, right? I know that I'm going to install Red Hat Enterprise Linux 5, but I'm not sure whether I'm going to install a 64-bit or a 32-bit.
Okay.
Okay. If I say that I'm going to install Red Hat Enterprise Linux 5 32-bit, and when I try to install 64-bit machine OS, that will not be installed on this box.
Okay. Okay. Actually,
Okay.
hold on. I forgot to start recording. Let me do that. Okay. Yeah, if we select 64-bit and install 32-bit, then the system may be not stable.
If you select 32-bit and try to install 64-bit, you will not be able to install. If you select 64-bit and install 32-bit, also it works fine.
Okay.
Because 32-bit machines can run 64-bit machines can run 32-bit applications, right?
Okay.
So not an issue. But if you select a 32-bit machine and if you are going to install a 64-bit OS, it may not be able to run that operating system.
Okay.
Right? So select the correct version of the operating system that you are going to install. For example, if I am going to say a Windows XP here, okay,
Okay.
and if I am going to install a Windows Server 2003 on it or a Windows Server 2012, it may not work properly.
Okay.
Okay, so always choose the correct version.
Okay.
I don't know what ISO I have. whether it's a 32-bit or 64-bit. It's a 32-bit. So let's go back and choose a 32-bit. Okay.
Okay.
Now it is asking you to choose the number of processes that you are going to give to this virtual machine. For now, I'm going to give only one processor. Alright.
Okay.
Now it will ask you to choose how much you want to give as a RAM.
Okay.
Okay. Click next. And how many network adapters you want for this virtual machine that you are going to create. Okay. If I want 2 network adapters or if I want 4 network adapters, I can choose. Right.
Okay.
But for now, I'm going to create only one. Okay. Click next. Now it is going to ask you what is the type of SCSI controller that you are going to use.
Okay.
Okay. You have bus logic parallel. There is something called as bus logic parallel, but it is not recommended for this guest OS. The guest OS is the operating system that you are going to install on the virtual machine. Okay. You need to get this terminology straight. Host operating system or host machine means your ESXi server, right? Your virtual machine means a blank virtual machine, right?
Okay.
Guest operating system means the operating system that is running on a virtual machine. Okay?
Okay. Okay.
So there is a difference between virtual machine and the guest operating system. Getting it?
Yes.
So choose one of the SCSI controllers that you want.
So it will display only the available SCSI controllers there.
Yes.
Okay. Only the available SCSI controllers in the host.
Yeah.
Okay.
Actually, these SCSI controllers are not there in the host. These are emulated SCSI controllers. These are only for the virtual machines.
Okay.
Okay. Click next. Now it will ask you to create a new virtual disk.
Okay.
Right? You're going to create a new virtual disk and it's going to ask you how much you want to give the space.
Okay.
Okay. And then you have options like disk provisioning. You see these options here? There are 3 options. Thick provision, lazy zeroed, thick provision, eager zeroed, thin provision. Right? Do you know what thin provisioning is?
No, I do not know.
Okay. Say if you are, this happens especially in environments where virtualization is there. Okay. So everybody comes to you and asks and say that we need 100 GB space, 200 GB space. Somebody might say we need 50 GB space.
Okay.
But the actual amount of disk space they are going to use would be far less.
Okay.
Okay. Normally this happens anywhere, right? So if there is a developer, he comes and says that I need this configuration machine, I need 16 GB RAM, I need 100 GB hard disk, but he's not going to use that much resource. You know that, right?
Yes.
Then what you're going to do is you're going to do something called as thin provisioning. Okay. In thin provisioning, what will happen is from the guest operating system, right? It will show as a 16 GB hard disk. Say for example, if I'm going to select 16 GB thin provision.
Okay.
Right? From the guest operating system, it's going to show it as 16 GB disk. But from the host operating system, it's going to dynamically increase the disk.
Okay.
Okay. So if I store only 4 GB of data on my hard drive, my operating system and all the applications and everything comes together, say up to 4 GB, right? But from the guest operating system, whenever you log in, you check, you'll see that I have 16 GB disk, 4 GB is used, and unused space is 12 GB, right?
Okay.
But actually on the disk, the used space is only 4 GB. Getting it?
Yes.
So you're going to do thin provision.
Okay.
You got the advantage?
Yeah, if the developer uses more space, it will increase the space dynamically.
Dynamically increase, so that your resource will not go waste.
Yes.
Say if I have 100 GB hard drive, right? If there are 2 people who are coming to me and saying that we need 50 GB each.
Okay.
So if I give them 50 GB each, and I know that they are not going to use more than 25 GB.
Okay.
So 100 GB disk is being consumed by only these two people, right?
Yeah, we
We're going to
we
use
can
all-
give it to 3 or 4 people and
We can say, for example, we will give it to 4 people, and all of those people are thinking that they have 100 GB.
yes.
But we know that they are not going to use more than 25 GB, right? But
Okay.
once you do thin provisioning, you should always make sure that you monitor the volume. Okay. So if I say thin provision disk, and say if I give 100, say I have 100 GB, if I give 20 GB disk to 10 people, so I'm provisioning it to 200%, right?
Yeah.
And if my disk utilization is getting closer to 90 GB, at that point, I should increase my data store space.
Okay.
Okay. If I don't increase my data store space, and if the threshold crosses, actual disk is only 100 GB, right? If the
Yes.
data stored on thin provision crosses 100 GB, your ESXi will come down. Your ESXi will crash.
Okay.
Okay. So when you're doing thin provisioning, you should monitor your hard disk and increase the space as on when you're reaching the thresholds.
Okay.
Okay. Then you have something called as thick provision eager zeroed.
Okay.
Thick provision is eager zeroed is, say if you need 20 GB disk, I'll give it, say we'll talk about first lazy zeroed. Okay. Say if you need a 20 GB hard drive, so I'll give it 20 GB hard drive, but disk is what? It's a combination of ones and zeros, right? It's a combination of ones and zeros. The data is being stored in the combination of ones and zeros.
Yes.
To create a new hard disk means all the data on the disk should be erased. Means all the data should be zeros. 20 GB of zeros should be there in the hard drive. Right? Getting it?
Yes. Yes.
Then thick provision lazy zeroed is you'll get 20 GB of hard drive space, but everything will not be set to zeros.
Okay.
As on when you use it, lazy zeroed. As on when you use it, whatever ones are there will be turned into zeros.
Okay.
Got it? Getting it?
Yes.
Thick provision eager zeroed is when I give it 20 GB space, as soon as I give you, all the 20 GB will be turned to zeros.
Okay.
Okay. For performance issues, this is the best.
Okay.
Thick provision eager zeroed. You need to keep this in mind. These are basically the interview questions that you're going to get.
Okay.
What is eager zeroed? What is lazy zeroed? What is thin provisioning? Right?
Yes.
So for now, I'm going to do thin provisioning. Okay.
Okay.
Then click next. Now it is asking you what type of controller that you want. Okay.
Okay.
Whether you want a SCSI card or a ID card. I want a SCSI card, and you can choose your SCSI disk number. Right?
Yes.
I'll leave it on SCSI 0.0. Then you have mode. Okay.
Okay.
See this mode option?
Yes.
There are two types of independent persistent disk. There are two types in mode.
Okay.
First you have to select independent. Then you have option like persistent. Okay. Changes are immediately and permanently returned to disk. So whatever data you're going to store, it will be immediately returned to the disk. Right? If I say non-persistent, changes to the disk are discarded when you power off or revert to the snapshot. Means,
Okay.
say if I'm using a public kiosk, for example, right?
Yes.
So users will come and they input data and make all the changes. But as soon as I reboot, I want to get back to where I was. So then you're going to use independent non-persistent disks. Okay. As of now, you don't have to make any changes. Simply click next. Now it will give you a summary of what all is being added.
Okay.
Okay. Click finish. Okay. Now we have a virtual machine created by name RHCL5.
Okay.
Okay. Click on edit settings.
Okay.
right? You have multiple options here, like power on,
Yeah.
right? Snapshot. We'll look at these things later, but the first option we'll look at is edit settings, right? So
Yeah.
any virtual machine, or for that matter, any machine is made up of what? A motherboard, memory, CPU, hard drive, right? These are all components make a machine,
Yes.
right? In a similar way, you have all those components here, like memory, CPU, video card, VMCI device. This is used for special communication, right? This is used for special communication, which you are not going to use, but there is something called as VMCI device. Other than this, you have SCSI controllers. Okay, we are going to use any disk which will be any SCSI, actually any SCSI disk which will be shared between your virtual machines. You can use this option. Right?
Okay.
I don't have anything as such, or else if you are going to share any physical virtual any SCSI disk between multiple machines, you can either choose this.
Okay.
I don't have anything as such, so I'll go with none. Then you have your CD drive options. Okay. Then hard disk option. Again, if you want to increase the size, you can increase the size from here.
Okay.
Okay. And floppy drive. You're not going to use floppy drive, right? So we'll remove it.
Yeah, that hard disk drive, we got 16 GB, but we are getting that from data store one, which is 40 GB.
Which is 32.5 GB.
Okay.
Data store one is of only 32.5 GB.
Okay.
The hard disk to the ESXi server is of 40 GB. Remaining that 7.5 GB is being used by the ESXi server, which will not be given to virtual machines.
Okay.
Okay. So the data store size is only 32.5 GB.
Okay.
Alright. Then I don't need a floppy drive. So I clicked on remove.
Yes.
Right. Then I have my network adapter. Okay.
Okay.
If you want, we'll talk about these things later. But I have a network adapter. If I want, say, more devices, more hardware connected to my
Okay.
virtual machine, I can click on add. So if I need a serial port or a parallel port to do some testing, I can choose that. If I want a floppy drive, I can add that. If I need one more CD drive, I can add that. If I need another drive,
Can we add these resources when the virtual machine is online?
It depends on what type of resources you are adding.
Okay.
Not all resources you can add. Some resources like Ethernet adapter, hard disk you can add.
Okay.
Okay. Basically, when the virtual machine is online, if you try to add a resource, it will clearly show you what options you have enabled.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Say if I want to add one more NIC card, I'll click next. These are the different network card types. We'll talk about this later. Right. So I'll click next. I'll click finish. You see, I have two network cards now.
Yes.
In a similar way, if I want a hard disk, I can add another hard disk.
Okay.
Right, which I don't want to do at this moment. I'll simply click OK here.
Okay.
Okay. We have other options. Probably we'll have a look at them later. Right. For now, we'll click OK here. So my virtual machine. See, if you see the tasks pane here, created a virtual machine, reconfigured the virtual machine. Right.
Okay.
So let's start it. Right, we have started our virtual machine. Now we have to connect to the console of the virtual machine, right?
Yes.
So click on this option, or if you have this, click on guest. Sorry, click on open console.
Okay.
Or from here you have console option.
Console. Okay.
Right. So it is trying to boot.
Yes.
It is trying to get a DHCP address. It is trying to boot from the CD, but we haven't connected any CD drive to it yet. So we have to
Okay.
insert the CD, right?
Yeah.
So let's try to insert a CD. So for that, what you have to do is you have to click on VM, or else you can click here.
Okay.
There is the icon here, connect, disconnect. You can do it from there, or you can do it from somewhere here. I don't remember. You can go into edit settings and click on CD, right? All of this, or you can simply click on this.
Okay.
Okay. It will ask you to connect ISO image on local disk or connect to host device. Host device is what? ESXi server. If my ESXi server has a DVD drive, first I connect to host device. Whatever DVD is there in that ESXi server, that will be read here.
Okay.
Okay. Or else if I have an ISO image on local disk is from the machine where I connected. Local machine is the machine from which I connected to this ESXi server, right?
Okay.
Which is my laptop, which is my desktop right now.
Okay.
Right? Okay. Now I have connected my desktop.
Okay. Okay.
Right? Now if you press enter, see the installation has started.
Okay.
Okay. So let's install it. So to install, just simply press enter.
Okay. I have to make a phone call. 2 minutes.
Sure.
Okay. I'll put on mute.
Sure.
Thank you. Hi Vishnu, I'm back.
Hey. So I'm installing my Linux machine.
Okay.
So we'll just hold on for a couple of minutes while the installation finishes.
Okay.
So in the meanwhile, what you can do is create another ESXi server, right?
Okay.
So we will need 2 of them. So let's try to create another ESXi server, or else we'll do it afterwards, right? We'll just wait for the installation.
So can we have more than one ESXi server on a host?
See, on a physical machine,
Yes.
only one ESXi server, only one ESXi.
Okay.
But we are using VMware Workstation, right?
Yes.
In VMware Workstation, what we are doing is we are creating physical servers,
Okay.
right? You have to think them as physical servers now.
Okay.
See, whatever you are seeing here in Ramesh, I have
Yes.
one ESXi server. It is nothing but you have to think this as one physical server.
Okay.
Okay, if I want to have another ESXi server, I have to create one more VM in my VMware Workstation.
Okay. But in organizations, one physical machine can have only one ESXi server.
Not only organization, even we can have only one ESXi server per physical machine.
Okay.
Right? That is the reason I am always trying to make it very clear to that. Think of this as a physical servers.
Okay.
Right? Don't think of them as a virtual machine. Think of them as a proper physical servers.
Okay.
Just remove that thought that they are virtual machines. Things will be very clear for you to understand.
Okay.
If you keep on thinking that these are virtual machines, then it gets very complicated.
Okay.
So my installation is done,
Okay.
right? So I'll click a reboot.
It says file system type ext2fs,
Hmm.
but if we want ext4fs, what do we have to do?
While installing itself, you have to choose ext4fs. I've gone with the defaults, right?
Okay, okay.
While installing your Linux operating system, you have to choose ext4fs.
Okay. Also, how do we select the file systems like root file system /tmp, how much size to give?
See, that is
That-
all
that-
normal Linux installation.
Okay,
So what you know how to do a Linux install? I guess you know how to do a Linux install, right?
okay.
If you want me
Yeah,
to,
I know that, but in a virtual machine we cannot do like that, or we don't need to do like that.
see, whatever you do, see, you need to delete this from your mind. That virtual machine is anything different from your physical machine. Virtual machine is same as your physical machine. Whatever you do in physical machine, you should do it in virtual machine. They're same.
Okay,
They're absolutely same. No difference.
okay.
So in a physical machine, how do you choose file system type and all?
Yeah, when installing we will choose.
The same way. See, either you can go with the default partition, even in the physical machine, you can go with the default type, right?
Yes, yeah.
What I did was to quickly finish because I don't want to teach you Linux installation here, right?
Yes, yeah, I understand.
So if I have to teach you Linux install, probably I would have showed you how to select the file system, how to choose a partition type and all of that.
Okay, yeah,
Not
I'll try myself with all that
Right.
options.
I'm just telling you, right? I'm not interested in teaching you Linux admin here. So that's the reason I've gone with the defaults. I don't really care what is there in this Linux operating system, right? I just want to show you a couple of things in the Linux operating system. So we have installed Linux operating system. All that my concern is to have this RHEL5 here.
Okay,
Okay, I don't really bother what is there in the guest operating system. Okay, either you can install Windows also, it doesn't matter.
okay.
Right? So it is, you should keep in mind, it's always same. There is no difference.
Okay.
Click next. Yes, I agree to the license agreement. So whether you want to enable SC Linux, I don't want to enable SC Linux. Yes. Oh, sorry, firewall. SC Linux disable. Click forward. Click yes. I don't want to enable kdump. I'm fine. Is the date fine? No. It's wrong. Date 2148. Yes, yes. Click forward. I prefer to do auto restriction later. Forward. Okay, later. Forward. Forward. Finish. Normally, whenever I teach this course, I install Windows XP for that.
Okay.
Okay, because people are not aware of Linux operating system, right? So, but you are a Linux admin, so I wanted to show you in Linux. So you go ahead and try installing different operating systems like CentOS, Red Hat, Ubuntu, whatever you want to try.
Okay.
Go ahead and try. Okay, this is my Linux operating system, right?
Okay.
I press Ctrl Alt F1. I want to log in as root. Right, I logged in as root now. And if I say fdisk minus L,
Yeah.
it shows me that I have a 16 GB hard drive, 17 GB, right? All 16 GB, 17 GB all come same, right?
Yeah.
So I have a 17 GB hard drive, and if I see what I have as network interface, I have one network interface, E0, and it got an DHCP IP address in the range of 192.168.198.194, right? Because
Yes.
I have a DHCP server in my network, which is serving these IP addresses, right? In this network, in 192.168.198, I have a DHCP server.
Okay.
Yep. From that machine, it has got a IP address, right? So
Yes.
coming back to your question was, what all hardware you can add on the fly. So my virtual machine is running right now, right? So for example, I want to add a device. Look at this.
Okay.
These all things have turned into unavailable,
Yeah.
right? And there are some things which are still enabled. So these all are the things which you can add on the fly. That is, while your virtual machine is up and running. Okay. So
Okay.
probably say I want to add another network card now. Okay. Go with the default type E1000 for now. And if you have multiple networks, right? Right now we don't have multiple networks. We have single network card on our ESXi server, so we have only one network. So click next. Click finish. Click OK. Right? If your
Okay.
guest operating system is capable enough of having plug and play, right?
Okay.
Then it should detect your new interface. I have my console here, right? So do you see if each one? You see each one here?
Yeah.
So my new network card is rejected.
Okay.
Getting it?
Yeah, we see only 2 network cards instead of 3.
Instead of 3, why should it be 3?
It already have 2. You added one more, third one.
Ah, yeah. We should have still 3, right? If config minus A. Maybe I need to do a reboot. Okay,
But we
if
see
you are
that, what is that last one? SIT 0?
SIT0 is a special interface card which is used by Linux for IPv6 conversion to
Okay.
IPv4 conversion. Right? That is not the new interface card.
Okay.
Right? I don't know why it is not detecting. Not Anacron. We can troubleshoot it. LSTCI PCH. Maybe that actually start. It should have been detected, but somehow it is not detecting it. Okay. What you can do is you can simply do a reboot.
Okay.
Okay, reboot will probably detect your new thing, right? New network card, right? Other than this adding hardware, there are a couple of other things that you can do, right? So when you click your VM, when you click like this, you have these options: power on, power off, suspend, reset, shut down, reset guest. Right?
Yeah.
You see these options. So power on is when your box is powered off. Say now I'm powering it off. So my machine is powered off now, right? So what I can do is I can do a power on.
Okay.
Okay. So my machine is powered on. So what else I can do is I can power off. I can suspend it. Suspend it means freeze wherever it is.
Okay.
Okay. I can do a reset. These are like your power buttons.
Okay.
Right? On a server, if you have a power button, right? If you press power button, what will happen? It will abruptly shut down the box.
Yes.
Right? These are like that. Other than this, you have something like shutdown guest, restart guest.
Okay.
You see this? But these are disabled right now.
Yeah.
Okay. They are disabled because there is something called as VMware tools. Okay. If you look at your operating system, if you see, you have something called as VMware tools.
Okay.
Okay. If I install VMware tools in this virtual machine, I'll get more performance. I can even do a shutdown restart guest. Like, if I press on this, it will do a init 6.
Okay.
If I press on restart guest, it will as good as giving a init 6 command.
Yeah.
Right?
Shutdown is init 0, restart init 6.
Yes. So it is, from here I can do a shutdown or restart. Right?
Okay.
But for that, I have to install something called as a VMware tools.
Okay.
Okay. Let's see how to do it. This is very important. It is highly recommended by VMware that you have VMware tools installed on all the virtual machines.
Okay.
Right? So to do an installation of VMware tools, what you do is you go into guest, click on install upgrade VMware tools. Okay. So basically what it will do is see now I have ETH2 as well.
Okay.
Right? ETH1 and ETH2. Right? So whenever I say click on VM and install VMware tools, what it will do is it will mount an ISO into my DVD drive.
Okay.
Okay. So the ISO is here. Right, my ISO is mounted. See my CD-ROM path is /dev HDC and it has mounted something called as media VMware tool.
Okay.
You go into this path and you have a tool to upgrade. Sorry, install VMware tools, right?
Yes.
You can do this. You can copy VMware tools to /tmp directory. cd/tmp. Concept.
So when we selected from the VM, after file, view, VM and install VMware tools, it won't install, it will just mount it.
It will not install, it will just mount it.
Okay.
On Windows, the installer will automatically start.
Okay.
Okay, but on Linux machines, what will happen is it will just mount it will just attach, it will not even mount. It will just attach, means it is as good as putting a DVD drive into the drive, right? That's
Okay.
all it will do. Even the mounting part also has to be done by you. Okay?
Okay. So to install which command you run? Okay, not yet. Okay.
Okay, it's not here.
Untard, okay.
I have to
Not
start
install.
by VMware install.pl.
Install.pl, okay.
So it will ask you where to install. Right? I'll go to the default.
Okay.
It will also ask you the init directories. Most of it is default.
Okay.
Right? In which directory you want to install library files. Does not exist, you want to create, yes. Before running VM tools for the first time, you need to configure it by invoking the following command. Do you want to? Yes. So it will ask you to choose your screen resolution. Well, you see, it has found VMware to CD-ROM mounted. It has ejected the device also. So it has installed the VMware tools fine now.
Okay.
Right? Now, if I click on power, you see
Okay.
these two options.
Yes.
Shutdown guest and restart guest are enabled. If I click on restart guest, look what it is doing. It is doing a proper init 6.
Okay.
So it is doing a init 6, right?
Yes. Yeah.
So if you want to send a control alt delete, you can click on here, it will send a control alt delete. Other than this, we'll talk about snapshot clones later,
Okay.
right? Other than this, you don't have much to do from here, so I'll close this console. Let's come
What
back
is
to
that
our,
control alt delete will do?
say if I want to send control alt delete to this virtual machine, right?
Yeah.
So what happens if I press control alt delete here? Press control alt delete and see it will come back to your lock screen, right?
Yes.
But I want to send control alt delete to that virtual machine.
Okay.
So what I can do is I can simply say click on this guest send control alt delete. If you don't configure anything for Linux machine, if you press control alt delete, it will do a restart.
Okay.
Right? If I say send control alt delete, it depends on your unit app configuration, right? How do you want to control your control alt delete keys? So basically what it is doing, it is sending control alt. Basically this is used for Windows, right? In Windows machine, if you have to log in, you have to press control alt delete, right, at the login screen.
Yes.
So that is where it is used. If it is a Windows machine and if you want to log in,
Okay.
right? Then
But in Linux machine, what happens when we press
nothing
that?
happens. Nothing happens. If you don't configure it, nothing happens. If you configure for control alt delete to restart your machine, you can do it.
Okay.
Right? Right. So let's see what we have here. Yesterday we were talking about it, right? So now you see virtual machines and templates for 1.
Okay.
When you don't have anything, it will show it as 0, right?
Okay.
Then if you come back to virtual machines, see it is showing me that
Okay.
I have one virtual machine which is consuming 367 megahertz and this much of memory.
Okay.
Right? Provision space is 17.11 gigs, but the use space is only this much GB.
Okay.
Right? And this is my IP address.
Okay. So we can right click on that and just right click on that and we can create another virtual machine using this as a template.
That we'll talk about later. From here you cannot do templates. If you want to use templates, you have to use vCenter server.
Okay.
Without vCenter, with just the ESXi, you will not be able to get the benefit of templates.
Okay.
To use the benefit of templates and that, you have to have your vCenter server. Probably we are going to install vCenter server tomorrow.
Okay.
So we have talked about that. The resource allocation also. Total capacity, how much has been allocated to your virtual machine, how much is resource capacity and all of this stuff. Right? Alright. So what else you can do is you can go ahead and create a new virtual machine. Right? So go ahead with the typical settings. Name your virtual machine anything you want. RHEL 5 version 1. I want to name this. Click next. Where do you want to store it? If I want to stay Windows XP, right? This time I have gone for a typical settings. So the number of screens that you see will reduce.
Okay.
Right, and click on finish. I have named this as RHEL 5-1, but while creating I have chosen this machine to be a Windows XP machine.
Okay.
Okay, if I want to change that, you have to click on edit virtual machine, come into options.
Okay.
Okay, you have here. You see this?
Yes. Yes.
I can change it from here. I can also again add remove hardware. Other than this,
Okay.
we have different options here. Like what should your we have already talked about this tab, right? Other than this, what we have is what should your general options means what is your name, what is the virtual machine name, where is your configuration file. We'll talk about files tomorrow,
Okay.
or we'll try to talk about them now, right? Then what should your VMware tools do? Whenever I click this button, you see a red button here, what should it do? Should it power off? Should it shut down guest? Or default? Default is shut down guest.
Okay.
Whenever I click this button, should it abruptly set the power off? Right?
Okay.
Like pulling the power cable.
Yeah.
Power off is like pulling out the power cable. Do you want it to do that, or do you want to shut down it?
Okay.
Suspend button, the only thing that you can do is suspend. Power on is power on. Restart. So whether you want to do a reset or a restart.
Okay.
You have all these options here, right? These
Yeah.
4 buttons. So you can do. So when do you want your VMware tools to be running?
Okay.
Okay. If there are any scripts that you want to run with the VMware tools, run after powering on, after resuming, before suspending and all of this stuff. Advanced, check and upgrade tools during power cycle. Synchronize guest time with host. So if I select this, what will happen is, always whenever I boot my virtual machine, if there is any time difference between the virtual machine and the host, the time will be synced.
Okay.
Right? If I say check and upgrade tools during power cycling, so whenever I'm trying to power cycle, if there is any new version of VMware tools that is there, it will try and let you know that there are some new versions of tools there.
Okay.
Right? How should the virtual machine respond with the guest OS is placed in standby? Okay.
Okay.
Say if my say if I you'll not particularly see this in Linux, but in Windows you have standby options, right?
Yes.
If I press here, you have an option like here also, you will see like something like hibernate, standby.
Yeah. Hibernate or sleep, something like that.
Right, something like that. So if you are pressing if my guest OS has that, and if I put it on standby, what should it do? Should it suspend the guest, or put the guest OS into the standby mode and leave the virtual machine powered on?
Okay.
Getting it?
Yes.
So my virtual machine will still be running, but my guest OS will be in standby mode, or else I want to suspend my virtual machine. You have to choose from one of these.
Okay.
Okay. Other than this, we have advanced features like if you want to enable acceleration or disable acceleration, hardware acceleration. If you want to disable logging, you can disable logging. Right. Other than this, we have statistics like run normally and all of these parameters. Other than this, there are special configuration parameters. If you want to change anything, you know what you are changing, and if you want to change anything, you can change it. Right.
Okay.
Then there are other options like CPU ID mask and these things. These are not very much required. Boot options, like so whenever your machine powers on, right? Whenever the virtual machine is powered on or reset, delay boot from following milliseconds, because VM booting is very fast.
Okay.
Right? It's not like hardware, where your hardware takes a couple of minutes to do the whole hardware checks and all that stuff, right?
Yeah.
But this is very fast. So if you want to wait some seconds before it boots into OS, you can choose.
Okay.
Okay. Delay, say if I say 39 milliseconds, it will wait. Then force BIOS setup. The next time the virtual machine boots, force entry into the BIOS.
Okay.
Okay. Failed boot recovery. Whenever the virtual machine fails to find the boot device, automatically retry boot after 10 seconds.
Okay.
Getting it? So you know what does this do? So whenever it is not able to boot, so after 10 seconds it will reset the machine.
Okay.
Okay. Then you have something called as fiber channel NPIV. right? These are for if you have any fiber channel card, right? If you have any fiber channel card on your host machine, and if you want to use that fiber channel card from the virtual machine,
Okay.
right? If you want to directly connect to a SAN disk, so if for example, I have the SAN LUN. Somebody has given me a LUN, okay, and I want that LUN directly to be connected to my virtual machine, not to the guest operating system, but to virtual machine. Then probably I'm going to use NPID. Okay. Other than this, we have CPU virtualization. So these things are used when basically if you want to use any virtual machine type of applications inside this virtual machine. But for now we are not going to use it. Then you have swap file location. Okay, the swap file location is by default the swap file will be stored along with the virtual machine. But if you don't want your swap file to be stored along with the virtual machine, and if you want, say if I have some SSD drives, and if I want to store my swap file on the SSD drives, right, because SSD drives are very fast, right, and if I have my swap file on the SSD drive, my overall virtual machine performance will improve, right? If I want anything like that, right, probably I'll say store the host swap file data store, okay, or always store with the virtual machine or default settings. Okay, other than this I have some resource settings. Okay, so what I can do from here is I can control the amount of CPU that this virtual machine uses, right? Say I have 3-4 virtual machines in the same box, right? On the same ESXi server, say I have 4 machines, 4 virtual machines. One is very critical. Okay?
Okay.
One is very critical, but the others are not so critical, right? One critical machine should get more resources when compared to other resources. Normally what happens is, if you have 4 machines will get equal amount of resources.
Yes.
Okay? For CPU example. But if I want to have one machine that has a higher preference, so probably I can say high. Okay? Then this machine will get higher preference. Or else I can choose custom. Okay? Custom, and I want to give number of shares. Say if I have 2000 CPU cycles, and if I want to give say 1000 cycles to this machine, I can choose this. Or else the best way is to go with the default settings like high, normal, custom.
Okay.
Right? So probably I'll go for high. And I want to say, for example, this virtual machine, whenever it boots up, it compulsory needs these many CPU cycles. Probably this you will understand better with memory. So let's see if you can understand with this memory. Okay. You have shares the same way as that one, and then you have reservations.
Okay.
Okay. What these reservations do is, say, whenever I boot up virtual machine, the minimum amount of memory that should always be there with this virtual machine. Even when you use it, don't use it, but that machine, that amount of memory should always be reserved for this virtual machine.
Okay.
Getting it?
Yes.
So, say every time my system boots up, I want at least 158 MB of RAM to be reserved for this machine.
Okay.
Okay, I can choose that. And upper limit. Okay, so if I have 4 virtual machines, and all 4 machines have given say 4 GB memory. Even though my physical host machine was also 4 GB, I've created 4 virtual machines. For each of them also I've given 4 GB. Now every machine will be fighting for that resource, right?
Yes.
4 GB of memory, but I want to restrict a virtual machine with an upper limit value.
Okay.
Even though I say 4 GB, but I don't want to give it 4 GB. Only if others are not using it, only if other machines are not using it, only then it can go up to 4 GB. But when there is a resource contention, I want to restrict it. So I want to set an upper limit. The minimum I have set, so whenever my machine boots up, the minimum that it gets is 158 MB. and the
Okay.
maximum that it can get is 673 MB.
Okay.
Getting it?
Yes.
It's the same with CPU cycles also. How many minimum cycles that you want to associate, and how many maximum cycles of CPU that you want to associate with this.
Okay.
Right? Other than this, you have disk. Disk is also very same. Only option that you have is to change the shares. Low,
Okay.
medium, high, normal, right? And number of IOPS you want to restrict. If you want to put a restriction on number of IOPS, this machine is going to get, I can do a limit.
Okay.
Right? Advanced sharing. This is if you want to enable any hyper-threading, or if you have any specific restriction that this virtual machine should run on this specific core, you can choose that. But we don't have anything as such for now, so we'll simply click OK here. I don't want to do any memory resolutions also, so I will say nothing here. I will say unlimited. Okay.
Okay.
So we are looking at the edit settings, right? So you understood all these 3 tabs,
Yes.
right? So other than this, you have upgrade virtual machine hardware.
Okay.
Okay. Right now, whenever I say click on summary, so you have this option called as upgrade. No, you cannot do while the system is up. Okay, you can. There is an option called as upgrade virtual hardware. Okay, what it will do is it will upgrade your virtual machine hardware from version 9 to the latest. While creating, it was giving you only option to upgrade to choose an option between 4, 5 and 8, right? But once I created it, I should be able to see this virtual machine hardware version from here. I don't know. Okay. So whenever I click upgrade hardware, it updates to the latest version of virtual machine version, right? Other than this, what you have is settings like add permissions, for a specific user. If you want to give permissions on this machine, right, I can give permissions. So what all this user can do on this machine, specific to this machine.
Okay.
Getting it?
Yes.
Then you have report performance. If you want to drag RAWs or anything like that of this machine, you can click on report performance. Okay, if you want to rename, open a new window which will do it.
Rename is to rename the virtual machine, right?
Yes.
That will also be the host name for that virtual machine.
No, it will be only from here. Only on the GUI console, whatever you see, that will be renamed.
But in the console, if you type host name, it will display different name, or
it will display a different name. This name is no way concerned with that name. See, you see localhost here.
okay.
That is the name of my virtual machine's host name, right?
Okay.
Okay, this name is only for this name. See, I have named this virtual machine as RHCL5.
Okay.
But the guest operating system name is different. It's like, say if you have a physical server, you put a name tag on it, right?
Yes.
On a physical server, to identify a machine in the data center, what do? You put a name tag on it.
Yes.
Right? That tag is similar to the name here.
Okay, I understand.
Okay, but once you tag a machine, it doesn't mean that inside the operating system should also have the same name, right? Inside
Yes.
operating system can have a different name. That is what this name is.
Yeah, usually it will be same, but it may be different too.
It depends. It depends on how you configure it.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? I can configure this name to be RHEL5
Okay.
to match it, or I can have it in a different name.
Okay.
Okay. Other than this, what we have called as remove from inventory and delete from disk. Okay. If I see this, hello, remove from inventory will delete this machine from only from the GUI console, but on the hard disk it will be there. If I click on delete from disk, this machine will be permanently deleted. Okay.
Yes.
Getting it? Remove from
Yeah.
inventory will simply remove from here, GUI console.
Okay.
Say for example, I am doing a remove from inventory. Okay. Are you sure you want to remove from the inventory? Click yes. Now this is gone from here.
Okay.
Right? Do you see the machine here, message here?
Yeah.
Unregistered virtual machine. Okay. But my virtual machine is still there on the disk. So how do I look at it? You look at it by going into configuration.
Okay.
You have your storage here. You have your storage here. Click
Yes.
on browse data store.
Okay.
Do you see this? RHEL5
Yes.
and
File
RHEL5. Okay. These are your virtual machine folders.
Okay.
Okay. You have your VMX file here. Right? We'll talk about what this VMX file is and all of that stuff in a couple of minutes. If I want this machine to be back on my GUI console, click on it and click on add to inventory,
Okay.
the VMX file.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It will ask you what should be the name and where it should be listed.
Okay.
See, it's back.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to permanently delete it. And do you see the machine here? Register virtual machine.
Yes.
Okay. So I want to permanently delete it. I should say delete from disk.
Okay. So when we remove from inventory, the virtual machine is still running. Whatever the state before we remove from inventory, it will continue in the same state.
Do you see? This is a virtual machine in running state, right?
Yes.
This virtual machine was shut down. So we could do anything. This machine is in a running state, right?
Okay.
So if I click on this, you see this?
Oh, okay. We cannot do that operations on your running machine.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
If you want to delete this permanently, click on delete from disk.
Okay.
It says remove entity. You see this difference between
Yes.
unregistered, remove entity.
Yeah.
You want to see if it is really gone, click on browse data store. Now we have only one folder, right?
Yes.
RHEL5. Okay. And if
Okay.
you go into RHEL5 folder, there are different kinds of files here,
Yes.
right? VMX file, VMDK file, log file, NVRAM file, VMXF file, VMHD, right? What are these files? VSwap, log file. There are so many files,
Okay.
right?
Okay. Yeah.
So what are these files? So each and
It's
every
a
file here,
swap, but it's a virtual swap.
each and every file here has a special meaning.
Okay.
Okay. So if you want to read about it, this is an interview question.
Yes.
Okay. VMware files, extensions, right? The primary configuration file is VMX file.
Okay.
Okay. You see this VMX?
Yes. Yeah.
If I come back into my data store, you see this VMX?
Yes.
If you want to see what is there on the disk, what is there in this file, okay,
Okay.
you cannot open the file from here,
Okay.
okay, what you can do is you can click on download.
Okay.
Click on download, it will ask you where to download. I want to download on my desktop, okay, it says it has downloaded the file, right?
Okay.
Now I have this VMX file here, right? Let's open it with a notepad or a WordPad. Notepad, probably a WordPad would be a better option, I guess. Okay.
Okay.
It has all the configuration information of my virtual machine.
Okay.
Do you remember while selecting the virtual machine, we have selected virtual machine version 8
Yes.
and what else? We have selected
Yeah,
LSA logic.
LSA logic. We have given RHEL5 as the name.
RHEL5 as the name. We have selected memory size to be 1024.
Yes. Yeah.
Right? And one network card of E1000. Right? Then we have stored our file name as rhl5.vmdk. Right? We have also chosen RHEL5 to be our guest operating system. All of the configuration information about your virtual machine is stored here. Okay?
Okay.
All of the configuration machine of your virtual machine is there in VMX file. Okay? Then you have another important file called as VMDK file.
Okay.
Okay? VMDK file is the so let me shut down this box. You will see one more file there. Okay, let me shut down this box. You see, after a shutdown, the number of files has gone down.
Yes.
How many files are there now? There are about 9.
Yes.
Let me power it on. And do a refresh. You see, number of files has increased from 9 to 14. You see that?
Yeah, I see 14 files now.
Right. So the most important file is VMX, right?
Okay.
Other than this, what you have is VMDK.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. VMDK file is a hard drive file.
Okay.
Okay. Whatever information you are storing in your hard disk of a virtual machine, that should be there in VMDK file.
Okay.
Okay. So if you read through it, it says to which shows the content of virtual machine's hard drive. Right?
Okay. Yes.
Other than this, what we have called as a NVRAM file.
Okay.
NVRAM file is nothing but the BIOS settings that you do are stored in the NVRAM file.
Okay.
The BIOS settings of the virtual machine that you do for the virtual machine are stored in NVRAM file. If you look at this is the file for virtual machine's BIOS.
Okay.
Alright. Then you have .log file.
Okay.
These are basically the log files of your VMware, of your
Okay.
virtual machine. .log. Okay. So we have seen what .log is, .nvram, .vmdk, .vmsd. Okay. So you understand all of this configuration, right?
Yes.
Then you have something called as vmxf. We have seen what vmx is, right?
Yeah.
Other than this, what you have something called as vmxf. vmxf contains some more configuration parameters of your virtual machine.
Okay.
Okay. So look at this. This is supplemental configuration file for virtual machine that are in a team. Note that .vmxf file remains if a virtual machine is removed from the team. But this is a supplement configuration file. Okay. Then you have something called as VMSD, right? VMSD and VMSS and VMSM,
Okay.
right? These are files related to snapshots.
Okay.
We'll talk about snapshots. Sorry, VMSS is different file, but VMSD and VMSN are files related to snapshots.
Okay.
Okay, we'll talk about what snapshots are a bit later, but these files are related to snapshot, VMSD and VMSN. We don't have any snapshots, so that's fine. Then you have a different file called as VMSS.
Okay.
Okay, whenever you suspend a virtual machine, right, you get an option to suspend a virtual machine, right?
Okay.
If I say suspend,
Yes.
and if I do a refresh, you see this VMSS?
Yes.
This file actually contains the suspended state of the machine.
Okay.
How, right?
Yes.
Now that VMSS file is no longer here
Yes. It's not.
because machine is in running state, right? So
Yes.
VMSS file is no longer required, right? So VMSS file is for that. So what else are the formats do you see? VMSD is for snapshot. You have hardware log files, and there's something called as vswap. .vswap. These
Okay.
are the swap memory used by your virtual machine.
Okay.
Okay, if you look at this, maybe he doesn't talk about it, but these are the, maybe they don't talk about it, but it is the swap file used by your hard drive.
Okay.
Okay. Then VMware.log is the log file for your VMware. It's like a process log,
Okay.
so that you don't, by mistake, you don't restart it like that. So if it is there is a log file, it means that this machine is already in a running state.
Okay.
So whenever you're trying to start a virtual machine, the first thing it checks for is a log file. If there is a log file, it means it's already in a running state.
Okay.
Okay. So that is the data store. Alright.
Yes.
This VMX oblique is the backup of this file. Just in case you lose VMX file, you'll have the backup here.
Okay.
Actually, I'll stop here now. For today, I'll
Okay.
stop. Okay. Today we discussed far many things. Just hear the video again and think about it.
Okay.
Right? But before tomorrow, I want you to have another ESXi server, right? Just to play around.
Okay.
Just for your exercise, just have another ESXi server and try to install a couple of guest operating systems.
Okay.
Right? So that's it for today, unless you have any questions.
No.
You fine?
Yeah, today I'll install one more virtual machine and practice. I'll have more questions tomorrow.
All right. All right. So I'm done for the day. I'll see you tomorrow then.
Okay. Thank you. Good night.
All right. Thanks. Bye. Good day.